not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. We're just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Just Football. Joining you here on a Tuesday morning. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's not Mike Renner. That's Seth Galina, who's filling in for Mike Renner, who I must say is already in the chat. And Seth, I believe that Mike's not on the set today just because It's Just Football is ending for the season soon. And Mike realized that he's never been chat champ. So I think the reason why he called you to fill in is because Mike just wants to be chat champ on the day. Did he also tell you that?
Oh, no, yeah, he's faking his own death.
Okay.
It's a very long, it's an insurance scheme. We can't get into the details, actually, because then it'll implicate me, but it's a very big deal.
He's faking his own death for clout. That's what he's doing. And you know what? Respect him. I absolutely respect him. No, Mike's in the chat, obviously, but it's just Seth and I holding it down here on the desk for the show. Missed yesterday's show, but we're making it up to you today. We've got a jam-packed show. We're talking about the playoff games that we saw this past weekend, pairing that with some dogs of the week, and also we're, of course, bringing back Drip or Skip as well. You guys loved when Seth went over this before. The fashion icon that he is, we've got him back on for Drip or Skip, plus we're taking all you guys' comments, questions, everything from what you saw this past weekend in the NFL. Seth, how are you doing, buddy? I'll give you the proper intro. How you doing today, my friend?
Bad. It's
Great.
horrible. It's like the worst 2 days of my life. I think I pinched a nerve, and I've been doing a lot of walking around like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like Gollum even. So it's been a rough. It's been a lot of me pouring cans of soup into saucepans and heating them up for every meal of the day because I can't stand in the kitchen.
Thankfully, we're not going to get you. We're not going to make you stand up at a touchscreen and do like the X's and O's thing. We're not going to make you do that today. But dude, shout out, pinch nerve, throw out your back, gang. Like I am fully in that as well. In fact, I was telling you a little bit before. One time I threw out my back, literally just reaching for a towel after I showered. That's how washed my back is. I'm not even that old. And that's where we are in life.
Yeah. It was probably like you being an idiot and like really reaching for it though. Because like, oh, I'm in the shower. I don't want to step there. I don't want to step there. And you're like, oh, I'll go reach for it. And then that's what happened.
Don't
Is that
tell
not how
me.
showers work?
Don't tell the people who I really am, okay? I'm trying to act like a more put together, confident person in front of the camera. And you're just exposing me to all the people. Can't even reach for
you live with Mike Renner. Like you realize the people know this, right? Like you can't claim to be a put together person. Like neither of you can claim to be a put together person when you live with the other person. That's obvious to me.
Yeah, Mike didn't put the dishes away properly, so I beat him up. That's why he's not here on the show this morning. Let's get the production portal guys here into the show. We've got Quinn, Eli, and Saul, of course, with us. Is anyone in the production portal experienced a pinched nerve in the back or thrown out their back at this point?
Yeah, I mean, well, shit. I like, not to make this about me, but I turned 33 years old today, so I'm like right in that age range of where like, you got to start worrying about that like physical breaking down type situation. I feel good, but I'm not getting younger.
This man did not even tell us that it was his birthday until the show started. Tyler's sitting next to him and he didn't even know.
I was in the other room just grinding out graphics.
Man, that's what he's doing for his 33rd birthday. Can we get some non-stop HBD Quinn in the chat, please? Spam it for the 33rd birthday. I'm glad that your birthday. I'm glad that you are. I'm glad the back is healthy, at least to start off the 33rd birthday. Hopefully, it's like that for the entire year. Eli, you went to Bengals Bills.
Yes, sir.
How was it, my friend?
It was incredible. Bills fans are in a league of their own. Definitely a ton of fun. Super cool fans. Stadium's really cool. Definitely not like the flashiest stadium, but perfect for Buffalo. I wouldn't have wanted to go to a game in Buffalo in like September when it's 75. Kind of loved that it was snowy, gross. It was a ton of fun.
Did you go through a table?
I did not. I didn't have one that was readily available. So.
Did you throw anyone through a table?
I should have,
Okay.
but did not.
Okay. What was the drink of choice? I'm curious because I feel like there's a drink of choice in like different tailgating scenes across the country, and I just wondered what it was like in Buffalo.
It was Labatt was the beer of choice.
Great call.
I was going between that and Nooners.
Okay.
Was my drink of choice. So,
Okay. Well done. You did good, and you saw Bengals win. I mean, like it couldn't have gotten any better. You saw the
Win
snow.
is selling it short.
What was it? What
An
should I
ass
say?
whipping is
That's
what
fair.
it
a
was.
stomping.
I went to Bills Packers earlier this season. It was actually I think my second time in at Ralph Wilson Stadium. I don't think it's called Ralph Wilson Stadium anymore, but
No, what is
regardless.
it now?
But
What
one of the things I thought was cool about the stadium, especially when the weather gets colder, and I'm sure it was like this weekend for you, Eli, was that kind of middle row around the stadium is lit up by heat lamps, so like red heat lamps. And what it ends up being is because most people who are wearing a jersey are wearing the blue Bills jersey rather than like the white or the red, so you end up with like this like layer of like blue on top, the red heat lamps in the middle, and then blue on the bottom, and it makes this like kind of 3-layer thing that's really cool. And it keeps the stadium, like, even though it's just like one layer of red heat lamps, it keeps the whole stadium warmer than it would have been. I'm sure it was very cold yesterday.
That's
or
great.
Sunday.
That's great. That's great branding, and it's also great health awareness, so people don't freeze to death up in Buffalo while they're watching their team. All right, Queen, do we have a question of the day to get us started off here?
We sure do.
do we
Sticking
got?
with the playoffs.
Okay.
Which NFL team has hosted the most conference championship games?
Oh, just like in general?
Yeah, just like in general.
Wow.
It is like a real current NFL team. It's not like
Okay.
the Portsmouth Green Stockings or
Portsmouth.
you know where I'm going.
Portsmouth Green Stockings.
You know where I'm going with that. There's some old ass teams that were probably really good back in the day that just aren't around anymore.
I think Portsmouth Green Stockings is one of those default Madden locations where
Sure.
how you can't pick your location or your team now. It's just one of the default ones. Patriots feels like one of the most obvious answers just because of the success that they've had over the last 2 decades. And Cowboys probably in this conversation too, just because they've been around a long time. Obviously, it's been a while since they've dominated in that regard and gotten to the AFC Championship game and been able to host. But those are the two that stand out to me. What about you, Seth? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Chiefs, just based on the last 4 years or whatever, like that's a lot in a row.
Right.
And then, Steelers, Packers, even, like you're talking about like a team that
Steelers
been to Super Bowls. So I know they've hosted some in the past. Like I don't remember exactly where the championship games were all those years. I do remember them losing to the Giants one year at home. But yeah, so for some reason the Chiefs, I just don't know if it was like if they had anything before this run. Like I know they had the Montana years were like good, but I don't know if they ever played at home in the championship game.
Yeah,
the 60s with like Hank Stram and those guys. Again, I just don't know where they played the championship game. So that would be the issue. So like Patriots probably makes the most sense.
I think I'm going to end up guessing Patriots. A lot of people in the chat are saying 49ers. Drew saying 49ers. CFB guy saying 49ers. Yeah, I mean, there's a Birmingham's even he's saying 49ers. Victor saying 49ers. So many. I think those are two good ones. I'm interested to see actually what the final answer is. We've got good guesses, and we'll give our final guesses at the end of the show. You guys can give your guess at the end of the show as well. But this is a good question. This is definitely a good question because I actually really want to know the answer to this one. So we had 4 playoff games that happened this weekend in the divisional round. Jacksonville Jaguars versus Kansas City Chiefs. New York Giants versus Philadelphia Eagles. Cincinnati Bengals versus the Buffalo Bills, and the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to talk about what we want to talk about most and what mattered most specifically from each game. Now, Seth, this doesn't have to be just for the winning team. It doesn't have to be something that's like, oh, this team advanced because of this reason. This is what we'll see throughout the rest of the playoffs in the conference round and in the Super Bowl as well. If your what matters most is what may have been disappointing from the team that lost, you got free reign there, my friend. But we're going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs advance in this one in a game that I think was a lot closer than people thought that it was going to be. Let me know what your what mattered most from you, and then I want to hear from the chat as well. Chat, tell us what mattered most too. But Seth, I'll let you go first.
So before we start, and I have to do this every time that I'm on the show, just to make it clear that I'm not a bozo here.
Is it clear?
Trevor wakes up before me, therefore he gets first pick in all these categories every time I'm on the show. Renner, Trevor changed his life around according to himself, and wakes up at like very early these days. I'm still a child in that way. I just wanted to put that out.
He's
there.
Right. He is right, folks.
So, my thing for the Chiefs Jaguars, I actually thought that like I had Jaguars +9 because I did think it was going to be closer than I think a lot of people expected.
Nice.
But my biggest takeaway is the Henne drive. Like that really is what changed the game. Like you have a chance. They're at the 2-yard line, your own 2-yard line, and Chad Henne, back in quarterback, goes down the field and 5 of 7. Like not a lot of yards, 5 of 7, 23 yards. Though, one batted ball that was going to a very open, I think, Noah Gray over the middle of the field. So just a really, really clean drive by Henne. They got some really nice runs from Pacheco, including the one where he was kind of stuffed in the middle and bounced it outside.
Yeah.
But like that's the game. Like you had a chance to stop them and either, I think, tie the game at that point or take the lead with a score. And then they just go down the field easily and score a touchdown. And like that was it, right? Because Mahomes ends up coming back into the game in the second half and does this Mahomes stuff that only Mahomes can do. Mm-hmm. And so you had your chance there. Like you tell the Jaguars before the game, hey, you're gonna have the Chiefs backed up on the 2-yard line, and Chad Henne is gonna be even one drive. You're thinking, okay, maybe we're in this game. Mm-hmm. And not at all.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's whether or not I got my notes in before you did, that was paramount, right? It was paramount to the game. It ended up getting points in a situation where nobody thought that was going to be the case. I think to pair with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about Isaiah Pacheco from what I thought mattered most in this game with the Chiefs. And I feel like I've talked about this over the last really month or so. I've kind of been worried about where the Chiefs' run game has been, because for as much as the offense was always going to primarily run through their passing attack and through what Patrick Mahomes could do, you still need that run game, right? When we talk about the value of the run game in today's NFL versus other eras, I will say, of football, it's not leaned on as much, but it's still important. You still need to be able to run the ball for a variety of different reasons effectively. And so for the Chiefs, leading up to the postseason, I was like, man, I don't have a lot of confidence in where their run game is at right now, because when you get to go up against some of the better teams in the NFL, sometimes the best defense for those Joe Burrows, those Josh Allens, those Trevor Lawrences, whatever it is to keep them on the sideline, to keep the clock, to own the time of possession. And when you look at Isaiah Pacheco in this game, 12 total carries, 95 yards, 69 yards after contact. You had this in your notes, 4 carries, 57 yards on that specific Henne drive. It was huge. And that went into the time of possession battle in which the Chiefs dominated. 35 minutes of the game, they had possession compared to Jacksonville's 25. And so that is definitely what mattered most to me, not just in this game, but moving forward, is that there is a more efficient version of the Chiefs' run game, which allows their offense to stay on the field. It allows them to control the clock, and it allows their defense to rest up on the sidelines as well. So the Chiefs having an effective run game like we saw against the Jags, to me, is paramount to whether or not they're going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals this upcoming weekend, and whether or not they can win another Super Bowl if they end up getting to that point too. So it was a huge step forward in that regard, and I think that that's a major takeaway for me from this game.
I mean, I agree 100% on what you're talking about and how the run game works. I think you need to, like, I understand that you can't be running the ball 75 times a game anymore. And obviously the Chiefs wouldn't do that just because they have Patrick Mahomes. But at the end of the day, like, you need to you almost need to like trick a team into the idea that you can run the football sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then when you actually can, when the results are there, like you saw in this game, then it's just like a multiplier to a certain degree. You got to make teams believe that you're going to run the ball on any snap, so that they don't give you these bogus, pass defense looks that are tough to throw the ball against. Mm-hmm. You got to give yourself a chance. by showing them that you can run the ball, so you can throw the ball into more or less obvious pass coverages.
Yeah, the run game. I'm kind of thinking about this off the top of my head. I don't know if the exact words, but it's less of an emphasis and it's more of a compliment now. But like it still has to exist. It's not like it didn't go anywhere. And I think that the Chiefs are certainly complimenting their passing game really well this week. We saw it as a good example. All right, what about the New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles? Not going to lie to you, Seth. I thought one of my best bets from last week was the Giants getting 7.5 in this game. I thought them being a touchdown underdogs was disrespectful. And I guess I was being disrespectful for how good the Philadelphia Eagles could be when they came out in this game. They ended up winning 38-7, an absolute destruction. What was your what matters most from this one?
To me, it's just Daniel Jones versus a real defense this week. You just watched the Vikings game last week, and I know everyone was talking very nicely about Daniel Jones. He went from, what are we going to do with him in the offseason to give him a 5-year deal for $200 million. And it's like, whoa, let's take a step back here and really look at what the Vikings put on tape on defense last week. And it was atrocious.
It wasn't good.
Just not being able, like busting coverages. Besides the fact that the Vikings don't have like great players on defense in a lot of positions, they just busted a ton of coverages, and there were wide open receivers for Daniel Jones to throw to. And then, so it's like the Daniel Jones talk last week was always overrated. And now you're looking at this Eagles game, and it's like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. Like, this is who Daniel Jones is, man. Like, and I messed up because I put a lot of money on him recreating that Vikings thing, even though I knew better. But this was just who Daniel Jones is. This is the guy that you are going to get for the rest of his career. He was propped up by scheme this year. Now, I have to give him credit because the receiving core wasn't great. Most of the offensive line wasn't great, even though Andrew Thomas obviously is an elite caliber left tackle. But this is who Daniel Jones is. And, like, you put him against a really good defense, and that defense is, like, not going to bust coverages. And this is the result.
I think that Daniel Jones is going to stick around in New York. So, whether or not people think that, like what you were saying, like whether you thought that was kind of the real deal Daniel Jones, that what you see is kind of what you get, or for the people who believe that he can be better, if you get some extra wide receivers in there, you upgrade the receiving talent. No matter what, I think we're going to see it play out anyways. Because the Giants aren't going to let him walk. He's going to re-sign in New York. So I feel like no matter where you are on the Daniel Jones prediction spectrum, we're going to see it unfold, at least in New York. So that's what I believe. I was so impressed with how the Eagles were able to take away exactly what the New York Giants were able to do. This was a team that rushed for 146.3 yards per game on average. It was a top 10 mark in the NFL. In the first half, the Giants had 20 total rushing yards for 7 carries. Now, the score got away from them, right? It very quickly, this game was 14-0. So it's not like you could totally lean on the run game. Sometimes you really got to play catch up, especially when it was 21-0, 28-0 before the end of the half. You can't exactly run the ball. You've got to score a lot of points a lot faster than that. So the Eagles' offense, I think, went into this, certainly. I don't want to be naive in that regard. But no matter how you look at it, there have been points in the year where the Eagles weren't very stout in run defense. And I thought this would be an area where this is how the Giants keep it close. And they just didn't. And the Eagles proved what kind of a complete team they were. Giants, 67.6 rushing grade in the first half, negative .251 EPA per rush. Terrible for their standards. Eagles run defense, 72.6. I believe on the season, they had around a 64 or a 65 run defense grade on the year. So a lot better what we saw versus the Giants. And it's exactly what they wanted to do. And I think the Eagles were able to take a look at how the Giants were able to certainly move the ball very well against the Minnesota Vikings. And they said, that's not going to be us. And for as much as I thought, again, the Giants were being disrespected by the line that Vegas gave them to start the game, Clearly, I was even disrespecting the Eagles and how good this team could be, how complete this team is, and how dominant they certainly were going to look against the Giants. So it's a game that I thought was going to be a lot closer. My hat is off to the Eagles for stopping the Giants in exactly the way you needed to make that game a blowout. So that's what mattered most to me, is that the Eagles looked like a fully complete team. Because if there was anybody that it felt like was going to take advantage of where the Eagles defense might have been weak, it would have been in their run defense, and it would have been a team like the Giants. And that did not happen.
I'll also add kind of the flip side to that, which is the Eagles' running game right up the middle against probably the strength of the Giants' defense, which is their interior two defensive linemen. And they didn't really do much, the Eagles. They run inside zone split, inside zone slice, any type of inside zone, mashed them. Completely mashed them on the inside, which I was shocked. And obviously we understand that the Eagles, as a 5-man unit on the offensive line, maybe the best in the league, but I did not expect that, especially, guard, center, guard against those two guys that the Giants have in the interior. A mashing, like I said.
What about Bengals Bills? Bengals get the upset win on the road in Buffalo in the snow. They advance to the AFC Championship game. Bengals came away with this one. What mattered most to you?
So to me, it's two things. Obviously, hard not to talk about Josh Allen, where he is, and basically since his elbow injury mid-season, where he just hasn't looked the same or as consistently Josh Allen as he had kind of before the elbow injury and maybe the 2 years leading up to it. And a lot of that, I felt like when I watched him, his eyes were not, I wouldn't say in the wrong place when he was going through his progressions, but I would say he was almost trying to do too much. So he would be like, all right, I'm gonna look off this safety, I'm gonna look to the left, even though I know I'm coming back to the right, and then I would look to the right, and then I would eat the ball because I didn't like the look. And then it was just a lot of eyes kind of darting around. Maybe he needs to calm down a bit. And then the next thing was, and this is always going to be the issue, I think, Josh Allen late in the down. Josh Allen after 3 seconds. And you look at the difference in the stats from Miami versus Cincinnati. After 3 seconds when he's holding onto the football, we have 4 big-time throws. 12 of 21, 175 yards. He did take a bunch of sacks in that Miami game. The fumble, obviously, that was returned for a touchdown by Miami. But being able to make plays down the field in a Josh Allen type of way, where it's like it made up for him kind of not being able to, or not trusting himself in structure as much over the second half of the season. It made up for it. And now you look at the Cincinnati game, it says it right there. Only 67 yards, 0 big time throws, a turnover worthy play, only 4 first downs passing. Like, that was the difference. And he's missed guys down the field. Even during the, in the structure of the play early in the game, misses Diggs. The really nice design by Ken Dorsey to get Diggs open down the, kind of down the sideline, down the numbers. He misses him in a corner route. They miss, Gabriel Davis down the sideline, underthrows him a bit, though it was a tough play. Just those type of plays that we're kind of used to seeing Josh Allen make, and where Josh Allen had become this tier 1 quarterback, tier 1A quarterback, is like he was very good in structure. That's not there the second half of the season. So you're relying on these Josh Allen type of plays that just weren't there versus Cincinnati.
I don't exactly know the answer to this, but I'm going to kind of bring it up because I've been thinking about it since. Do the Bills not have – a lot of people are talking about, the Bills don't have enough receiving talent outside of Stephon Diggs, but I like the receivers that they have. Like, I like Gabe Davis. I like Dawson Knox. Like, I even like Khalil Shakir. But I'm asking you this to see if you might know the answer to the question. Do they not have a good enough quick game? Because it felt like in that Miami game, Miami was constantly willing to blitz and pressure the Bills' offensive line, and they succeeded in doing so. They continued to get pressure on Josh Allen. They had one of the highest pressure rates I think that Allen had faced in the last 2 years last week in that Miami game. So they clearly were not afraid of sending extra guys at the pocket, not only because they felt like they could overwhelm the offensive line, but also because I think Buffalo didn't have that safety valve kind of a player, didn't have those quick routes that Josh Allen would go to so he doesn't have to hold on to the ball after 3 seconds, avoid a rush, and then look deep downfield and pass it deep downfield. I wonder if Khalil Shakir could be that guy. I wonder if maybe they need to draft somebody at the end of the like a Josh Downs or a Jackson Smith and Jigba, just somebody who's one of those guys who plays in the slot and it's just like, hey, just get open around 5 to 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, just find a place to get open. Have you seen that with the Buffalo Bills at all? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think it's the receivers. Look, this is why they brought back Cole Beasley, but it's just like that. Just not, there's a reason Cole Beasley retired. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing is like, okay, well then he's not the player that he used to be, and they brought him back for that reason you're talking about. They needed some guy who was going to get open quick. I don't think he gets open as quick as he did even a year ago. And then so it's that the receiver aspect, and then multiplied by again Josh maybe just not trusting those concepts as much, and then trying to make a play later in down, trying to be superhero Josh Allen. That's kind of where I see it. So yeah, I could see. I like Shakir, so I'm curious about his development. Maybe he has that type of player. You do have two good outside receivers. Maybe the Gabe Davis usage wasn't great. I don't know if he's like a downfield type of guy. I think we want to believe he's a downfield type of guy. He might not be that type of player, actually. He really is more of a intermediate level possession type of receiver. Maybe they need a true blazer down the field. And you can see maybe that's why they brought John Brown back, because that's what he is. So yeah, I think the receiving corps could use some help. I would also say the offensive line needs a ton of help.
Right.
When you look at it, it's like Deion Dawkins is their best player on the offensive line, and he just can be shaky at times, oftentimes. Yeah. Good player, but also has very shaky games as well. So it's Josh Allen had to put a lot on his shoulders. I don't think he needed to as much as he thought he did. But there is still personnel issues on this offense.
Yeah, Bills are close. Bills are very close. And I saw TJ said this in the chat even before the show began. I said this on my podcast last night. I don't think the Bills' window is like closed or anything. But the Bills have now had 3 years in which they have believed they could be a Super Bowl caliber team. They have now failed to reach the Super Bowl 3 straight years. So what I said on my podcast last night is, if they, again, go into the offseason, maybe make some upgrades to the offensive line, maybe get the right receiver in there, if they don't make it again next year, all of a sudden you start to doubt everything. Like, you start to doubt whether Josh Allen's the guy. You start to doubt whether McDermott's the guy. You maybe make a change with the coaching staff, like, just because you believe something needs to change, and maybe it's the wrong decision. So I wasn't saying that their Super Bowl window is closing. I don't, or is closed. But you start getting into dangerous territory when you've had Super Bowl aspirations for 4 straight seasons. And if they don't make it next year, that would be 4 years in which they have fallen short. You're just going to have a lot of people who might get impatient, start pointing fingers, contracts come up, different players move. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about it, because I do want to see this Bills team get to the Super Bowl, because I think that they have deserved to. But what matters most, I'll just be quick with it because I'm going to touch on it for Dogs of the Week. But Bengals offensive line. No Lyle Collins, no Jonah Williams, no Alex Kappa. They look fantastic. 0 sacks allowed, only 1 QB hurry all game long, 15 total pressures as a group, sure, but this offensive line was not supposed to look nearly this good, especially in Buffalo against those type of rushers with 3 backups in the game. Shoot, you lose 1 starting offensive lineman in the playoffs, and it could be the difference between a win and a loss. They were losing 3 guys in this one, and they stepped up, man. Unbelievable job by the Bengals. They're trending in the right direction with that offensive line, and it bodes well for them going into Kansas City. Last game that we're going to talk about, Dallas Cowboys versus San Francisco 49ers. Dallas kept this one close, but ultimately the 49ers pull it out. Seth, what was your what matters most from this game?
To me, every time I watch this 49ers defense, it's the same thing. The way they cover routes is absolutely stunning. The way they're able, they play a lot of zone. Certainly when they play man, they're very good too. They don't have like a true. I mean, their various words very good, but it's like we don't think about them as a man coverage team. When they play zone coverage, the way they're able to pass off routes and not make mistakes. I just talked about it with the Vikings, playing a lot of zone coverage against the Giants, making a ton of mistakes. You just don't see that with the 49ers ever. They are so well coached. Obviously, there's so much talent on when you on the interior of that with the linebacker core, Jimmy Ward playing nickel now, Hufanga at safety. Like, there's so much talent inside, but the way they're able to pass off routes, play zone better than anyone in the league, basically, that it just makes them fun to watch, man. And this is a very good, obviously we know this is a very good Cowboys offense. Now it's back-to-back years that the 49ers have had their number in the playoffs. And yes, this is a very good Cowboys offense. This has been one of the best offenses in the league since Dak returned, including the Washington game, including this Dallas game. It's been one of the best offenses. But 49ers just like understand how to deal with all these route combinations in a way that is stunning. Really stunning.
Yeah, they are one of the best. They're one of the most talented defenses in the NFL, coached by one of the best defensive minds. And anytime that's the case, obviously you have the result for something special like we're seeing in San Francisco. I agree with you that the Cowboys have had one of the best offenses in the NFL, but I would argue that this game definitely exposed some questions that we've had all year long. Is, does this team have a legit second option? Like Dalton Schultz was. I'll just read off these stats for you guys. CeeDee Lamb led the Dallas Cowboys in the regular season with 1,359 receiving yards. In second for the Cowboys was Dalton Schultz with 577. And Dalton Schultz is an unrestricted free agent coming up. You look at the QB rating when targeted so far this year, up to this point, even with the playoffs included. CeeDee Lamb, 108.5. But then you've got Noah Brown is the next closest wide receiver at 79.4. Michael Gallup's the next closest wide receiver after that at 76.2. Massive drop-off. This team needs a legit wide receiver too. And I'm going to continue to say that. And look, some people out there might say, like, oh, how many excuses can you make for Dak Prescott? I'm not trying to make excuses for Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott's a really good quarterback. But I also think that expectations, when you don't have the supporting cast that you need to, are silly. Dak is, I think, a really good quarterback. Did he turn the ball over too much this year? Yeah, he absolutely did. He needs to get better at that. There's a lot of quarterbacks that turn the ball over too much during the season. Look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen led the NFL in turnover-worthy plays this year, but you didn't care because obviously the offense was operating the way that it needed to. But kind of like going back to what Seth said, what's the difference when you get into the playoffs against some of these better teams and making it to a Super Bowl? It's those little margins that you need to get better. Dak definitely has to get better, but at the same time, I'm still waiting for a legit wide receiver too for the Dallas Cowboys. It's a major issue that they have to get fixed. Certainly if they lose Dalton Schultz, but even if they bring back Dalton Schultz, I think they need another legit wide receiver 2 option. So that was my what matters most from the Cowboys side of things.
I'll even add, and I have no stats to back this up, so bear with me. But I do think there's a difference between having an elite outside receiver versus an elite inside receiver. And right now, CeeDee Lamb is probably both. If he played outside, he'd probably be an elite player outside. But he does play in the slot a lot. Mm-hmm. He is a slot receiver. And I really believed in Michael Gallup, his first 3 seasons in the league, as this really good. Can play him as the isolated receiver in a trips formation, outside receiver, was really, really good. And he was just not good this year. I mean, there's nothing else to say, but he was just not good this year. So I agree. And like I said, you almost need this outside receiver that makes the difference. Diggs, Jamar Chase and Higgins, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that really is, I'm total agreement with you. I believe that they were going to be better even with the loss of Amari Cooper because I believe Gallup was going to step up. He did not at all.
Right.
And that's really a big difference there.
Yep, I agree with you. Anything else? Anything that we didn't touch on throughout any of those 4 games that maybe didn't go into the what matters most category, but something that you wanted to hit on from these games that we saw this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to the 49ers, you look at, everyone knows about Fred Warner, one of the most devastating linebackers that I've seen in terms of, against the run, against the pass, freakish player. But I have to give credit to the 2 other guys that play linebacker, Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shaair. The 49ers have the best individual linebacker in Fred Warner. They have the best duo in Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, and they have the best trio when they add Azeez Al-Shaair on the field in their base defense. Incredible players, man.
Yep.
Greenlaw especially is so underrated. He's a potentially a household name if he doesn't play for the 49ers next to Fred Warner. That's how good he is. Alshire is a starter on pretty much every NFL team outside of maybe the 49ers and the Saints. So incredible group of linebackers they have. Again, zone coverage for a linebacker is probably the hardest thing to deal with once you get into the NFL, because the issue with a linebacker is like everything is happening behind you. All these routes are happening behind your head. So to have the awareness and the spatial awareness to deal with all that stuff is what makes these three incredible players, and it makes what makes Fred Warner one of the best players. But yeah, I love those three guys.
I agree with you 100%. I was going to touch on, in my notes here, I have touched on the Bills wide receiver too, but we did touch on that a little bit when we were talking about the Bills and the Bengals game. I'll also say this. I'll go back to the Cowboys 49ers game. Cowboys are wasting touches with Ezekiel Elliott, man. I know that this is not news. Like, I know people have talked about, hey, Tony Pollard deserves the ball more, but like this offseason, they seriously need to look at things. Last 4 games for Ezekiel Elliott. This is just the last 4 games, okay? 19 carries for 37 yards, 8 carries for 10 yards, 13 carries for 27 yards, 10 carries for 26 yards. That's a 1.9, 1.2, 2.0, and 2.6 yards per attempt average. They are wasting touches giving the ball to Ezekiel Elliott. This offseason, I think, is the first offseason where they could really cut Zeke and actually save money onto the cap because his contract has been so gross up to this point. But this has been an in-theory thing. We've talked about the Cowboys potentially moving on from Ezekiel Elliott, but it hasn't really been plausible because of the contract up until this point. They need to seriously look at it. Like, if they go into next year, if Jerry Jones does the whole thing of, hey, we're one of the best teams in the NFL when we give the football to Zeke. No, you're not. No, you're not. So I am begging the Dallas Cowboys to get more efficient on offense throughout the offseason. Go get a legit wide receiver 2, move on from Ezekiel Elliott, draft another running back to play with Tony Pollard. That is what you need to do. You got a good stable of tight ends now. You got a good offensive line. Tyler Smith's been unbelievable this year. Be more efficient out of the backfield by cutting Zeke, save some money on the cap, go get a wide receiver 2, make things happen. I think the defense is good. You're probably not going to keep Dan Quinn because Dan Quinn's probably going to go be a head coach somewhere. But I think the defense is good. I think you're a really good caliber team. They can make a legit run next year if they actually do what they need to do. So I just wanted to get that off of my chest there because of how inefficient Zeke has been over the last 4 games. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, as a Bucs fan, you certainly know how inefficient run games look like. So
I know. I'm the master at it. I could teach a class on what it looks like.
All right, are you ready for my conspiracy theory?
I'm very ready. The people are very ready for your conspiracy theory. What do we got here?
I think the Buffalo Bills chose the wrong cleats for their home game against the Cincinnati Bengals. They were slipping and sliding everywhere. The Bengals were not. And you know how, from my understanding, obviously you're an NFL team, you have the resources to do this. Mm-hmm. You get out there, you run around a bit on the field. You're not sure, obviously the other conditions are not good. So you're like, okay, well, how long are the cleats going to be? I think that's what the issue is when you come out there for these kind of like open weather games. And it felt like they wore the wrong cleats. Like they decided, hey, we're gonna do, I don't know what it is, 1/2 inch cleats, and the Bengals wore 3/4 of an inch cleats, whatever it is. It just felt like they couldn't find their footing. They just couldn't find their footing, and the Bengals could, and that was a big difference in a game like this. I mean, there's 2 really good teams. I know it was a blowout, but like 2 really good teams, that can be the difference. So that's my conspiracy theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm sticking to it.
Blaming the equipment staff, blaming loss on the equipment staff is bold, but might be a little bit there. And all the best conspiracy theories sound a little crazy, then have a little bit of truth to them. So
I got another one for you.
Let me tell you about the COVID vaccine now.
Okay.
That's not where I was going with mine, but I got another one for you. Bengals were camouflaged, wearing the all-white uniforms. That was floating around out there. Bob Griffin 3 tweeted that out. Now it's kind of starting to pick up some steam.
Look, again,
as in like camouflage. They were camouflaged. That's the idea.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, because they wore the all-white unis in the snow. Hard to see him.
Yeah.
Harder to see him and make.
That's right. No, that's right.
Yeah.
That's not a conspiracy theory. That is just facts. That's a literal fact
yeah.
that you could not see them.
All right. I like it. It's time for everybody's favorite segment now. It's time for Dogs of the Week, baby. Let's get into it. Play the intro.
Dog. He gets after it. He's a dog. Dog. He scored 5 touchdowns. Dog. He's a dog. He's a dog. He is a dog. Absolutely.
Dogs of the Week, baby. I'm excited for Seth to be here for this one to give us his 3 top players from over the weekend. Now, look, obviously, only 4 games happened this past weekend. So we're going to repeat a little bit of what we had said earlier in the show, but we're going to make it specific to players who have played really well. Seth, we're going to go 3 Dogs of the Week each. Everybody in the chat, we want to hear from you as well. Give us your dogs from the divisional round. Who you got first, Seth?
How can you not say Patrick Mahomes on the bum ankle?
True dog.
Like, that's like
True
insane.
dog.
These are his second half stats when he came back after the half. 10 for 16, 111 yards, a touchdown, no picks, no sacks, like on an ankle that is going to be a serious concern going forward into this Bengals game. But, and the crazy thing is, it's like he moved around in the pocket. He made plays. He had a scramble for a first down. He moved around and found receivers open. Like, this was just a great game. It's going to go down in Kansas City Chiefs, mythology going forward. It just, how can he not be the dog of the week when he did all that on a bum ankle in a playoff game?
That man got the finest painkillers that exist in the medical field today.
Get some up there to Seth for his
right
for his nerve.
Yeah, that's what this man needs for his back, 100%. No, Mahomes has to be for him to even come back and play in that game. That's a dog mentality, right? It's not just the stats and the performance. It's also the mentality. That's why we recognize guys here on this show. So that's a good one to start us off. I'm going to start off with the guy that you praised not too long ago, San Francisco 49ers linebacker Fred Warner. I got some stats to encapsulate how great he was in coverage, like you were mentioning. 60 total defensive snaps versus the Dallas Cowboys had Fred Warner. 86.0 overall grade. 86.7 coverage grade. He's targeted 4 times, allowed just 2 catches for 15 yards. And I looked up what he has been like in the playoffs. This is his 3rd career playoff game in which he has posted a near elite coverage grade. Incredible that when you go up against the better opponents, this guy just continues to bring out his best. It's not just good coverage game, because there's good coverage game that he has had throughout. I'm talking elite, difference-making, X-factor coverage play from Fred Warner. We saw another incredible performance this weekend. Seth mentioned it. One of the best, if not the best, linebackers in the NFL, and he put it on display this weekend, so it was great to see. Who you got next? Who's your second one?
Sticking in this game, Trent Williams. This was a big matchup.
It was indeed.
And him against Parsons, only 1 pressure allowed on 15 pass rushers, beaten only once. This was an incredible game by the guy who's just the best tackle in the league. Like, you could see it there. 22 pass rushes versus everyone else, 0 pressures allowed, and only 1 on 15 to Parsons, who's such a dominant figure. Trent Williams, dog, man, that saved them. Like, Purdy was not great. Even Shanahan, in terms of getting guys open, wasn't his best game. Run game wasn't quite there until the end. Trent Williams kind of kept him in the game. Because you take, you know what I mean? Like, they scored a little bit of points at least. But if they have like an average tackle against Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and Dorrance Armstrong, they're going backwards and they're not scoring 9 points, at a certain point in the game. So.
He broke the record for PFF's highest graded player in a single season ever last year, and when he's been healthy and out there, he has been the same kind of dominant player that we have seen this year. So that's a really great. Now, that was one of my matchups I was looking forward to seeing, and Williams absolutely blanketed that pass rush from Dallas, which is really impressive. So I'll stay along the offensive line, and I'm going to highlight individually Jackson Carman, the fill-in left tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals. Seth, this man brought his A game against the Buffalo Bills. I was so worried about what was going to happen with the Bengals offensive line down their 3 potential starters, like I mentioned a little bit earlier in the show. But from Carman this past week, 74.6 pass blocking grade, which was a career high. That was his career high for any game that he has had so far in his NFL career. He had a 49.3 pass blocking grade last week, and the bounce back was beautiful. 0 sacks allowed, only 3 pressures allowed, just a 7.7 pressure percentage on 42 pass blocking snaps versus a really talented Bills defensive line. I went back and I watched the tape specifically because I was going back and forth with somebody on Twitter. They were using my quote against me, saying, hey, last week you said that Jackson Carman, he looks like a guard, he plays like a guard. I personally have always believed that Jackson Carman was a guard. And he basically said, do you still think that after this game? And I went back specifically and I watched the All-22 Jackson Carman. And Seth, the footwork is night and day. I'll just say the lower body in general is night and day from what we saw at Clemson.
Playing his natural position.
He is so, dude, he was playing left tackle at Clemson. And after I watched the Bengals game, I went back and I watched them all 22 of when he was at Clemson. And you just see he can't sink in the hip. I'm just talking pre-snap. Like, he can't sink in the hips, so he looks off balance, like he's hunched over. He can't get his hips all the way down. He's got one of his feet kicked out wide, so you could tell that like he's tight in the hips as well. And when he would kick out or when he would just go to pass block, the feet always looked heavy. This past weekend, this dude's got perfectly symmetrical feet that are just outside of shoulder length. He could get his butt fully down to where he had a great base, good flexibility, good power, and his kickouts were so quick, so powerful, so impressive, and then the feet just kept chopping the whole time. And I'm like, this guy is night and day different from what we saw at Clemson. So my hat is off to Jackson Carman for the work that he has clearly put in to be a better offensive tackle and to make what we saw last week possible, because he was fantastic. That was the best game that I've seen for him play, even going back to his time at Clemson.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot easier when the opposing team is wearing Yeezys on the field instead of cleats, but that it's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
I will say, the Bills not having Daquan Jones in the middle of that defensive line, they got pushed around, man. And Carmen had a great game, but like not just him, like they were that unit. And you talked about it earlier. That unit was really, really good. So,
who's your last one? What do you got?
Yeah. Oh, last one.
Yep.
Is I kind of talked about the other side, Trent Williams. I got to go this side, DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons, who were awesome, man. They were awesome. Those two guys, 11 total pressures between them, 2 quarterback hits in the run game. 6 defensive stops in the run game between the two of them. I think 4 from Lawrence, 2 from Micah Parsons. Just dominant effort from those two guys. Parsons is a freaky player, man. He's a freaky player. And then to have a guy who kind of puts a player like DeMarcus Lawrence in a shadow because of how good Micah Parsons is. Like, DeMarcus Lawrence is an insane player. He's so good. Just a really great game from both those guys, and those two guys deserved a win. To tell you the truth, that's how good they played.
It's one of the best defensive lines that we saw all season, and those are the two guys that absolutely highlighted. Last player for me that I wanted to shout out: Philadelphia Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert. Goedert had an incredible game. 87.7 overall grade, 89.6 receiving grade. But on top of that, man, he was impressive as a blocker too. 71.6 pass blocking grade, 66.9 run blocking grade. He was a full, all-around, difference-making tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles this past week. His stat line for receiving: 5 targets, 5 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. So this, look, it already feels unfair that they have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown in the same passing attack. Now you throw in how effective Goddard can be, how versatile he could be. You put him in line in the line of scrimmage, you go, I don't really know what's going to happen here. It's not like it's an obvious that this guy's going out for a reception because of how well he was able to block too. He's just an all-around really great player, a full, versatile dog of the week here for my final call-out, to give players some shout-outs here. A lot of people in the chat I saw wanted to shout out George Kittle. George Kittle, phenomenal. 5 targets, 5 catches, 95 yards. Again, a major difference-making game for the San Francisco 49ers. Since Week 15, no player in the NFL has a higher receiving grade than George Kittle, 92.1. It is wild. This guy has had, I believe it is 4 out of the last 6 games that Kittle has played, he has had an elite receiver grade. Wild. Truly, truly wild. Nico shouting out to Miko Ryans, George Kittle, Joe Burrow, CFB guys shouting out Mahomes, just like Seth did. Quell shouting out James Bradbury. Holy cow, man, going up against his former team that let him go. He's on the other side, and again, continues to be a massive difference maker. I felt like the league was sleeping on James Bradbury when he was kind of bouncing around a little bit. Always thought he was great at Carolina. Felt like he deserved a little bit more respect. So now he's totally getting it as a team that is going to the NFC Championship. We got one more segment in the show. We can't deny it from you guys. We've got Seth on here. He is an absolute fashion icon, which means we have to do drip or skip. This one, Quinn, I feel like drip or skip's going to get a little weird today. I feel like the submissions that we had in the Slack channel were all over the place. I didn't even see all of them, so I feel like this one's going to get a little crazy.
I mean, I think we're going to have some good ones.
Okay.
I think we're going to have a lot of drips,
okay.
At least at the beginning. It's a little top-heavy.
All right. Who we got first?
All right, so I got to specify because it's a guy who's on here a lot, and he's on here multiple times this week, but this is pregame Joe Burrow.
Okay, so pregame
This is pregame fit.
Okay. All right. I like that the shoes match the jacket. The beanie matches the pants. This is very color coordinated. I think it's a drip. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, it's a drip in a very classic type of way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, he's worn some more outlandish, extravagant outfits. Getting off the plane, coming into the stadium.
Yes.
This is something that I think all of us would kind of be okay wearing. This is a
dude.
very classic style, right?
100%.
And getting the orange, like, because the orange is not out of place. You could walk down the street. You don't even have to be in Cincinnati or Syracuse or Corvallis, Oregon, to wear orange and just like that. So I think this is a really good, clean look.
If Quinn shows up wearing exactly this fit tomorrow, I wouldn't be shocked.
I would love to, but I know that North Face jacket's probably pretty. That's like a $300 jacket.
I don't know. I feel like we could bargain shop a lot of this stuff. You know,
Maybe
we get some knockoffs. You can create the same.
I do own apparel that is similar to that though.
Okay.
So, which to Seth's point, yeah, I mean anybody could wear that, and like you could walk in someplace and they'd be like, "Damn, dude, love that jacket. Those shoes are sick."
I don't see a
Very much a drip.
single skip for this one. So it's appropriate. All right, what do we got next? Who's next?
All right, so this is post-game Burrow.
Oh, we're going back-to-back Burrow.
Back-to-back Burrow, yeah.
Okay.
This is him right after the victory, wearing the Seinfeld sweats.
Yeah.
Nah.
I can't do
skip.
it. Nah, it's a skip for me.
Are you not a Seinfeld guy?
Wow.
It's not that I'm not a Seinfeld guy, although I don't watch much of the show. I've only seen like a handful of episodes. I don't like shirts or pants or whatever that have like the logo in really weird places, big or small. Like I can't do it. So like the Seinfeld logo being on the calf to like the shin to the left, like I can't do it. I can't. It's not. I'm not about it.
Larry David probably designed it that way.
See, was that a Seinfeld joke? I don't got it because I got it. So I just right over the head.
I'm not sure Larry David is designing.
I'm sure he is.
Sweatpants.
And it would be just like that.
My skip is just like a couple things. Too baggy all the way around. Like both articles are baggy. I also think like, hey, you walk in with what you're wearing, you walk out with what you wore when you walked in.
Oh, so you gotta have the confidence to pull it off before you know the result and after the result is what you're saying.
What's the point of carrying a big bag?
I don't think he needs two sets of clothing. I mean, I don't know. You dress in what you're dressed in. You go play. You go take a shower. You put in your clothes back on. Like, I'm sorry. I know this is the NFL and not like Division 6 flag football, which is what I play. But like, I think you can wear the same clothes going back on the plane.
Seth's walking out of the locker room wearing his dirty jockstrap.
Daniel saying it's a skip. Nico saying skip. Drew saying skip. Parker saying skip. Burning Ham's going full drip. CFB guys going drip. It seems like a lot of people, if you watch Seinfeld.
But I mean, here's the thing, though. It just says the word Seinfeld. There's no reference to anything like any episode, any theme. any idea from the show. It just says the word Seinfeld on, and you can barely see it. It's on his leg. Like, I'm over it.
Nico says, Trevor, where do you want the logo? Do you want it across his butt? No, those have always also been extremely weird to me, but maybe that's better than the left of the shin. I don't know. We'll have to see it. I know TikTok would
Burrow
love
next
it if
week,
the logo was
Burrow next week come in with a juicy butt.
See?
Walking into Arrowhead.
It'd be a drip.
That's a drip.
It'd be a drip. Okay, so who's next?
So this is one of my favorite ones this year. This is Deebo Samuel. Check this out.
Oh!
He looks like a Bond villain, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a killer right there.
So I'm skip on this one because I think it's too.
Cow.
I find the proportions don't work for me. I don't know what it is, but the proportions just don't work for me.
I think the picture was captured at a weird moment of him walking. I don't like
Is the jacket not long enough? Is that what's throwing me off?
No, I think like the bag / purse / clutch / whatever that is, I don't know, is throwing me off. That I can't get with that.
No, wait, watch this.
All right, this is like when I'm sorry, but this is like when Michael Scott wore the pantsuit.
No. It is a drip. It's 1,000% a drip. Like you said, he looks like a Bond villain. I just don't know I don't know what he's holding. I don't know what we got there. That's
his post-game outfit.
Oh, his post-game outfit's in that. Yeah. Okay, sure.
You know what? The one thing I do like is doing the turtleneck chain underneath the suit jacket. I think that's very interesting.
Powerful look. I don't think
it's
I
a very
could
power move.
Don't think I could ever do it. You think you could do it?
I can do, dude. I'm wearing a 3/4 zip every time I'm on the show. Like I can't do anything but the old man.
Yeah, but what if you zipped up the 3/4 all the way and then just put a gold chain on?
All right. So my thing. I probably even told you this last time I saw you. I've been telling everybody.
Yes.
But my thing is, so I do like the gold chain. If you'll remember, Austin at some point decided he was going to do gold chain before he left PFF. Maybe that's why I think that's actually why they fired him. They fired him for the gold chain.
They didn't fire Austin.
I fired Austin. I said enough.
Seth fired Austin.
I'm trying to do dangly earring.
You are?
I'm trying to do one side dangly earring DK Metcalf style. I think I might have even talked about this on the show, but like,
do you have your ears pierced?
This is my midlife crisis idea.
Do you have your ears pierced right now?
No.
Oh, okay. So you want to get your ears pierced, and then you just want to do the one off. That could be a look. Well, it might be a drip. You just have to do it, and then we'll have to see on the show. Somebody said, Daniel said, "Bro looks like a jeweler." Absolute drip.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What's the next one? Who we got next?
We got some big man swag. DJ Reader.
Okay. Is that Dennis Rodman?
I believe so.
Okay. I think this is drip. This is phenomenal big man swag right here. He's got the big dark glasses. He's got the flashy earrings. He's got the chain. He's got the in unison jacket jeans combo with a wild ass t-shirt underneath. To me, he nails it. I think this is drip.
I also think so. Everything you said, I agree with 100%. I also think just the colorway is something unique in those colors, like the dark red burgundy, those different shades of blue, teal, aqua, turquoise, whatever. I don't know. I worked at American Apparel for 3 months, so
that's why you're on the show.
Okay.
That's why you're doing drip or skip. Jason said he's looking like a Call of Duty camo. Elliot, going back to Seth getting his ears pierced, said, "Don't do it, Seth. Maybe just get a cat or something."
Buddy.
Maybe you and the cat can get your ears pierced and have the same, and then but just the left one, of course. Okay. What who's next?
We got Xavier McKinney.
Oh, I know what this one is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a skip. Look, if this was on the set of like The Fifth Element, no problem. But I don't think so.
The number one part about Drip or Skip is wear whatever you want to wear. If you love it, wear it. Beautiful. I don't know what's going on here. I've never felt more disconnected to the kids than I do when I see stuff like this. How can he see, Seth? How can he see?
I'll also add, and obviously I know what I'm talking about as a fashionista, the issue here from a technical standpoint.
Yes.
You can't do the hood and no sleeves. It's anachronistic. I'm not sure if that word means what I think it means, but that's what it is.
I like the shoes. Shoes
are nice.
But that's all I got. Yeah, what's next? Who we got next?
Another guy who's been on this list quite a bit, Jalen Hurts.
All right, what do we got for Jalen? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What are they called? The all denim? What is that? Like a cowboy tuxedo?
Canadian tuxedo.
Canadian. Sorry, I didn't mean to take that away from you, Seth. I didn't mean to take that away. Okay.
Well, just a little bit of cultural appropriation on the show today. Not a big deal.
So does he pull it off? Does he pull off the Canadian tuxedo?
Yeah, this is good. I will say that, like, personally, I'm not a faded denim type of guy, like a washed denim type of guy, but I think it is a fine look, and I do think this is a good drip.
Let's be real. Jalen pulls it off, and Jalen's pulled off a bunch of different things so far this season. All right, so Jalen, easy drip there for us. What do we get? Quell saying that's the GQ quarterback. What do we got next?
Travis Kelce.
Okay. Ooh, Kelce. Oh.
I'm not feeling it.
That looks cozy.
Yeah,
It does look cozy. Seth,
very cozy for sure.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's a drip.
And I will say that I've been thinking about, like, aesthetic coziness recently in my life. I feel like every time I think about going, so stupid. This is what old age does to you.
Okay.
I'm thinking about. So I'm going up north. Like, anyone knows what that means relative to.
You're going from Canada
where
to Canada.
I am, but I'm going to a cottage this weekend, and I'm like, I just keep thinking about, how can I cozy the whole time?
Of course, yeah.
It's like, I don't even want to bring a pair of jeans. Everything I bring has to have a hood on it. Like, it's got to be a hoodie type thing.
Sure.
And this is all I think about. So in that case, I'll say it's a drip, because I understand comfort and coziness. Now, with that said, he's going to a football game in the cold. So, like, you're about to get uncomfortable, but still, that's drip.
He's trying to be as cozy as possible before we get to that point, and we respect it. I agree. I think this is a drip. Last one. Who's the last one?
Last one, sticking with the Chiefs, it's Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh. I think this is a drip. We're kind of, like, conflicting a little bit. We got, like, a D&G bag. Okay, hold on. He's got, like, a D&G bag, but he's also got, like, the classic dad grilling out shoes.
Yeah, I thought those were Air Monarchs, but I don't think they are.
They're not.
Those are probably like $2,000.
Right.
Like,
they're insanely expensive.
If I'm not mistaken, and I'm not mistaken because I know what I'm talking about.
Of course.
This is like 2000s core, right? This is how we used to dress in like 2001. You know, the ripped jeans, that type of jacket. Those glasses are not, kind of fashionable glasses per se, but they're retro. Somehow my high school experience has become retro. I'm not sure I like that, but this is how we used to dress, and so it's a drip for me.
I think it's a drip. I think it's a drip. I don't know. We're coming up against the back end of the show, so we got to end this bad boy pretty quickly. Do we want to do the bets, or do we want to save the bets for tomorrow? Quinn, what are we doing here? We doing the bets, or are we saving it for tomorrow?
We'll save them for tomorrow.
Okay, we'll save the bets for tomorrow. Can we get an answer to the question of the day, though? Because I want to get that before we get out of here.
Yep. Team that has hosted the most conference championship games.
I'm gonna guess the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm in on the Patriots.
Okay.
They were everything you guys threw out was good guesses. Chat kind of got it, though. It's San Fran. They've hosted 10 times.
Niners.
That's crazy.
I know, that is crazy.
Okay.
Because I thought with the Patriots, they went to the Super Bowl in the 80s, they went to the Super Bowl in the 90s, and then you have the run, obviously, in the 2000s and 2010s. But yeah, San Francisco, I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's a
Consistently good franchise.
Well done, chat. Well done. Eli, do we have a chat champ? Did anybody get it first?
Do. Alec Costa. I think he said it was his first show and just was super active in chat. So shout out to Alex.
Hell yeah. Andrew Luck,
Nice.
answer the question of the day, 41. I don't know if that's the question of the day tomorrow, but I just saw it on the screen. So if it is, then we got to change to a different question. Shout out to Alex. There he goes off. Who is our chat champ from the day? Seth, thank you for joining us today, my friend. I don't know how many times you might be joining us throughout the week, so I might be saying hello to you again very soon, but whether this is the last show or the first show of the week that we do. Appreciate you joining, man. This was a lot of fun.
It's gonna depend on when Renner gets his insurance check or not.
Right.
Then we'll.
Yeah. Once he gains enough clout from faking his own death, then he will return to us. All right, everybody, appreciate you guys watching the show, having a lot of fun with us today. We will be back tomorrow, no matter what. Actually, I should not say that. We will be back tomorrow as we are scheduled to have it at 11 a.m. So hopefully you guys can join us then for a good time. We'll be talking about the upcoming championship games for championship weekend. We'll be previewing everything, and of course it'll be a Wednesday show, so we will be talking plenty of NFL draft as well. For Seth Galina, I'm Trevor Sikkema. For everybody in the production portal as well, thank you guys so much for watching It's Just Football. We'll see you tomorrow. See you guys then.
It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.